Oh yeah. Hello everybody and welcome to round number 9, the third race of the evening here for the races here at Daytona International Speedway for Season 2 of the BSR Carrera Cup here on iRacing. Myself, Scott Woodward, and Marcus now is once again here to call all the action from the final race of the evening. And after another photo finish in race 2, it was Ian Smythe who took the victory. And again, another nail biter, one or two incidents in that race, Marcus, and a couple of drivers who we expected to be charging through the field getting caught up in some unnecessary incidents. But on the whole, how did you view race 2 compared to the first one this evening?
Yeah, I thought it was an excellent race. There was the reverse grid system working to its absolute maximum there. It was a great race. We had quick guys racing through the top 10. We had the guys that started at the front trying to hang on. Jose Almeida, I thought, drove a fantastic race for a guy we don't normally see at the top, and was the unfortunate recipient of what from Ian D. Smythe of what Ian D. Smythe had done to him the race before. I put my teeth back in, but a great race, and certainly the second and third races with the mixed up top 10, the reverse grid, always interesting, and this one again is really going to produce something special, I think.
So, looking now at warm-up then for race number 3, and we'll see exactly who is placed where at the moment, who is currently accessing. And Dame's in the 301, who is currently top with a 146.763. Stefan Hug only trailing round in the moment in 6th on a 147.473. But in many ways, of course, warm-up is not a true indication of drivers' pace. They use it just to get themselves back into the groove and get the car settled in for the race ahead. And there seems to be quite a few incidents at certain corners, but where do you think have been the key points in the circuit for drivers tonight, Marcus? Because, of course, long straights, of course, around, of course, the ovals and stuff, there definitely have been a prime opportunity for slipstreaming, especially down the back straight and onto the pit straight. That's where we've seen the majority of the overtakes where slipstream has been involved. Do you think there's been any key corners in the infield section which have really played their part? Because turn 1 particularly has also been quite a tricky one, especially with how much you have to trail brake going into the corner.
Yeah, that turn 1 is always going to be difficult. As you say, it is a difficult corner. You go in there hard on the brakes as you enter the corner, and you have to lift off and feather the brakes and trail brake through the corner, as you say, and it really does unsettle the rear of these cars. Obviously, all the time you're braking, the weight of the car is shifted forward, and it makes the rear very light, and that's a rear end with a lot of engine in it, and where all the traction comes from, and it really does unsettle the car. That, coupled with the fact that turn 1 is very, very tight, with the exception of the first part of the turn into turn 1, the rest of the turn you're surrounded by walls, certainly as you move into the exit. So if you get it a little bit unsettled and you get on the power a little bit too quickly, you're not only going to have an accident, but you're going to hit a wall and almost certainly rebound back across the circuit. So you really need to be very, very careful in there.
Yeah, careful indeed. That's something that's definitely going to be, I think careful is the word, I think, because of course such high speeds on the bankings really does mean you have to keep your wits about you, especially not to run into the car around you. And because the draft effect is so strong at a circuit like Daytona, especially with these kind of cars, with drivers possibly running a low downforce setup, the high downforce setups can also play a part as well, because as we stated around the beginning of race 1, before the race 1 in fact, we talked about the fact that the drivers can go ahead and run run high levels of downforce to get away with a much stronger draft effect. So I mean, obviously some drivers appear to have made that crucial balance between having enough mechanical grip in the corners, an aero grip at least, but of course then taking advantage of the fact that with that extra aero grip, it can get them a stronger draft down the backs, down the straights and through the bank section. So some drivers really are just finding themselves in the groove when it comes to just finding that extra bit of speed when following the car in front.
Yeah, obviously, these are big cars. These are GT cars, and they punch a big hole in the air. And despite the sleek appearance, they're not very aerodynamic. They really do generate a hell of a lot of drag. So if you can be the second or even the third car in that train, and you can be sure, as we said earlier, that you can run in a pack, you can run this car with a very, very high downforce setting, a setting that would usually cripple you on the oval. And it really gives you an advantage through the twisty infield section That said, if you run that high downforce setting and you find yourself either the car in front or isolated on the oval, you're just dead in the water. And conversely, if you run a very, very skinny wing to make sure that there's no risk on the oval and you can minimise that drag as much as possible, it's very, very, very difficult to get the power down early enough in that infield section to maintain the places. So it really is a balancing act, and I'll be keen to see what happens in this race. I'm certainly hoping that as we move into the last couple of laps of this race, we have maybe 3 or 4 cars fighting for the win. It'll be interesting to see what that draft looks like from the 3rd or maybe even the 4th car in the train.
So, looking at the way these drivers are lining up on the grid, of course, again for race 3, as we had in race 2, there is going to be a reverse grid. So, looking at how they line up, then it's going to be Daniel Hunt who starts on pole position in the 07 with Benjamin Gregory alongside him as the cars move off behind the Ford Mustang pace car for one solitary formation lap, and then before they go green. Stanimir Zuzov and Alain Tessier down up in 4th place on the grid, and that could be a crucial place because, of course, Tessier only finished in 7th back in race 2. He was close for a chance at the podium after he made a bit of side-to-side contact right here into turn number 2 with Ian D. Smythe, the man who starts at the rear of the top 10. So Tessier will certainly be looking to make an early impact from 4th on the grid up on row 2, because we know exactly how fast he is. Another man we know exactly who has enough pace in is Stefan Hug. Not been as deadly as he has been back at the previous couple of race meetings, but he has at least got himself up there in 5th place on the grid alongside Matthew Dalton in 6th. William Bota and Jose Almeida will make up row 4 in 7th and 8th. And then Ian D. Smythe is going to start in 9th place. Looks like we're missing one car from that top 10 who is not going to be taking the start. Possibly either he's starting from the back of the grid or possibly starting from the pit lane. Robert Plumley is actually rounding out the top 10 on this one, with Edmund K. Friedman and Clark Preck on row 6. Row 7, it's Richard Wilde and Matteo Cacoldi. Then we've got Tien Dames in 15th and William Pinar 16th, Laura Bond and Robert Burton, I should say, sorry, in 17th and 18th, Cyril Thomas and Gary Tall on row number 10, and then of course the rest of the field looking down the order, some key drivers in there, including Ashley Sutton in 33rd, to see exactly how far he can get up in the field, because we know exactly how fast this man is when he's on charge. Matt Malone, also the man he led early on in race 2, starting down in 23rd in the number 10 machine, so he could possibly cause a threat to some of the front runners if he's allowed to run away with it. And drivers such as Tony McCallum and Nick McCarron, definitely drivers with pace in them, as we saw, especially last time with McCarron up there at the front of Lime Rock Park. But of course, a very different circuit is Daytona to Lime Rock Park. Of course, much more high speed, and of course, drivers who possibly do favour the more winding, kind of like twisty, slower circuits. They have the infield section, but apart from that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, this is definitely a less technical circuit than Lime Rock. Lime Rock, despite its short length, is a very difficult circuit to drive quickly, and those guys who favour technique are very, very strong round there. This type of circuit tends to favour the more patient, more thoughtful driver, so yeah, definitely a very, very different proposition from Lime Rock Park.
So the cars make their way now through the bus stop chicane, as we're now looking at our front row, of course, of Daniel Hunt and Benjamin Gregory. And again, we say Tessier is going to be that man to watch. Exactly how much of a start he can get, whether or not he'll be able to lead going into lead by the end of lap 1, it remains to be seen, but he is pulling up alongside Stanimir Zuzov in the number 134 machine. And remember, as we said before, Daniel Hunt will effectively become the pace car as soon as the actual pace. Now crawling around through turns, the oval section, turns 3 and 4, and still a large field. We've got a 34 car field. It's partially cloudy, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and again northerly with 2 miles an hour, and race humidity 55 degrees. All set for our final 9-lap race here at Daytona International Speedway. 3.5 miles to 11 turns. It is the Roval course. Pace car pulls off. Now waiting for Daniel Hunt to floor the throttle and get the green light. He's gone already. Green light is out, and round 9 of the BSR Carrera Cup in Season 2 at Daytona is underway. And a great jump also already from Daniel Hunt ahead of Benjamin Gregory into turn 1. And already, as we suspected, Alain Tessier into 3rd place and giving headaches to both Gregory and Daniel Hunt as they head into the first corner. There's cars going 3 wide behind. Have to be very careful. It looks though for the moment they've got through all okay, but that's of course tempting fate as they head towards the horseshoe. And any position changes there. I can see Tessier moving up the inside and taking second place from Gregory already into the first corner, and there is a collision in the midfield, Marcus.
Yeah, it looks like it was Tian Dames. I'm just going to have a close look at that. It looks like a car got wide, and it's what it's led to. It's led to all kinds of carnage in the international hairpin. We have got 6, 7, I count 8 cars now involved in that incident. And if we go back and have a little bit look at that, Tian Dames was running in a reasonably strong 15th position, and it looks to all the world to me like, I think it may have been, it looks like Laura Bond maybe has just outbraked herself ever so slightly. Oh no, sorry, I've done her a horrible disservice then. It's not at all. It was Clark Preck. Clark Preck in the Exocet sponsored car has outbraked himself horribly and has caught Tian Dames, and he's taken out a whole host of drivers. Gary Toole is in there. Ashley Sutton is in there. Robert Tings is taken out. Nick McCarran's gone. So we've lost 5 or 6 very fast drivers there. Most of the guys who were starting at the back have gone.
While we're assessing the incident, we have had a change for the lead. It was Alan Tessier getting the lead down towards the bus stop, but Daniel Hunt's keen to lead this first lap as they head back towards the line. And also Zuzov and Gregory are going to go side by side, and Daniel Hunt will get it back as they come across the line to end lap 1. But Tessier has the inside run. He will hold that line, despite Daniel trying to get it slightly sideways, spins in front, hits the inside tyres, and almost collects Tessier. And somehow Gregory and Zuzov got through that without any contact. But Daniel Hunt was trying so hard, he almost outbrakes himself, and oh, that was close. Almost came out in front of a car in front. I think that possibly might have been as they came across the line. Well, Rob, we'll look and see exactly where around where everyone is. A car's gone white. It's Jose Almeida's looking up. Another car's gone through the shorter kind of runoff area on the inside of the horseshoe. But Daniel Hunt has dropped all the way back down, and again, looked to me as though he was just a bit too cautious trying to outbrake Tessier on the outside. The back end just stepped around, and apart from that, he was a passenger. Whoa! And is that Ashley Sutton? I think it might be Ashley Sutton going around just behind. Or somebody's gone around the back of one of the white cars and trying to figure out who it is. It was Ashley Sutton. So Ashley Sutton, who was running in, well, it says here, let's see where he was running in.
He was 17th, I believe.
He's 17th, but he's dropped right the way down, which means that it does mean that, looking at it, Daniel Hunt was down to about 15th place, because I think the car he was in front of was the number 10, the black machine of Matt Malone on that one. So he's starting to struggle back through the field on that one, but he's definitely having some problems at this point in the race.
Yeah, I put Dan Hunt down in 19th place now. Unfortunately, after that, he just outbroke himself. Too much steering angle, and the car just breaks away from him.
So back through the turns 3 and 4 banking for the second time, and it is now, in fact, Tessier who's starting to lead and increase that gap over Benjamin Gregory. Might get a small toe, but he's certainly trying hard to keep with him. Now in third and fourth, it's Matthew Dalton, Stefan Hug, because they have got around Zuzov, who had a bit of a mistake. They're going to run side by side. Dalton has that inside run. Hug's not one to give up any moves easy. And we see exactly the problems Hunt had under braking, trying to go around the outside. Not so this time. Trying to get the undercut. Oh, contact! Dalton gets tagged by Hug, and both of them go around. Well,
yeah, I think
Dalton facing the wrong way.
I think Hug managed to get it going. He's hooked it back up, and Dalton's done exactly the right thing there. He's waited, and just behind him, Laura Bond, maybe caught out by the fact that there was a car parked across the circuit. Not a lot of blame can be attached to Dalton there, though. He waited as long as he could and turned it around fairly safely. But yeah, Laura Bond, unfortunately, in the wall as well.
So looking at where everyone is now, it puts Stanimir Zuzov back into third place, but incredibly, Stefan Hug has quickly recovered and is already giving him problems. So he's coming up to the outside now as they head down towards the left-hander that takes them back on spin, and Zuzov loses it on the exit. What is going on with these drivers today? Because Zuzov now just loses the back end, gets the power down a little too hard, and Stefan Hug, despite being involved in an incident at turn 1 that took out Matthew Dalton out of contention, has now found himself in third place. Andy Smiley's up to also fourth spot. So some of these front-running cars, either they're just nervous around these top-running drivers, or they're just plain making mistakes. I mean, there's some drivers out there just obviously not concentrating properly, and they're paying for it in this third race. Yeah,
there's lots of people getting carried away, and I'm just looking in more detail what happened to Laura Bond. Unfortunately, there was an incident involving Robert Burton, and it looks like Robert Plumley going into turn 1 at the end of, at the beginning of that third lap. It looks very much like Rob Burton has rear-ended Matthew Cicaldi, and in all the mess they've collected Laura Bond, and it's put her out the race. So Laura, not as I said, dropped it on her own. Unfortunately, was the victim of somebody else's accident.
Amazingly, in that lap that we just had on lap number 3, Alain Tessier has pulled out a 3-second advantage over Benjamin Gregory. But himself is now finding himself under attack from the charging Stefan Hug in the number 19 machine. He's going to go to the inside. Gregory's left the door wide open into the horseshoe, and Stefan Hug just takes full advantage, and he might also... I think Gregory loses it on the exit of the horseshoe. So another front-running driver puts himself out of contention with a silly mistake, just getting a bit too eager on the throttle. As you see more cars battling it out just behind as well. But that puts Gregory down to, I calculate at least, roughly around, I would say it's about 8th or 9th place, because I did see Edmund K. Friedman and William Botha and Jose Almeida all fly through. So I reckon that's back down to about 8th position, I think, because just behind them, let's see, it is actually just behind him now is the 16 car, Matteo Cicaldi. So he is down into 8th spot.
Yeah, and interestingly, we normally say... Sorry, I was going to say, we normally say at this point that it's as you were at the front, Tessier, Hug and Smythe, the 3 guys we've been talking about all night, but they've not worked their way up the field with any great driving. It's just everyone in front of them appears to not want to be on the road and just keeps throwing it off the racetrack.
Well, Indy Smythe has moved past Stefan Hug with a sim pass into the bus stop, which means that these two, of course, as fast as we know they are, have now switched places with Indy Smythe back on the podium again. But Hug is now carrying front end damage. That will be affecting him aerodynamically, but maybe not so much, because he's getting the toe off Smythe, but probably not as strong as he'd like. But let's see exactly what he can do down across the striping to try and make a pass. Which way is he going to go? Inside or outside? Smythe's making that portion of that rough as wide as he can.
Yeah, if I was Stefan Hug, I'd be just staying exactly where I am. Tessier now has got a 4.5 second lead. Hug will know that Smythe is generally a quick peddler, and if these guys are to stand any chance of getting anywhere close to Alain Tessier before the end of this race, they're going to have to work together and maybe just go for it on the last lap to sort the positions out between themselves. But if they fight, Tessier is just going to drive away.
Well, Tessier has pulled out the lead by a further 1.2 seconds now. It's up to almost 4.5, so he really is putting the hammer down and deciding to leave these guys behind to secure his second race victory, potentially, in tonight's 3 races. The battle lines are now drawn for second place, although Indy Smythe does seem to have a bit more outright pace than Stefan Hug. Remember, these two guys are in the contention for the championship already, and they're at the top of the table. They are in the first 2 positions. I'm going to make a hunch here and possibly think that Indy Smythe is up there and possibly in the championship league, because I'm pretty sure he has finished ahead of Stefan Hug on both occasions. In fact, I'm confident he has. And if we do it again, this could mean that it could be advantage Smythe going into the next few rounds next week.
Yeah, that's maths. That's way beyond me, unfortunately. I just look at the pretty coloured cars and wait for them to have an accident.
So, back up at the front, let's see exactly what kind of a gap Alain Tessier has pulled out in front. He certainly seems to look a little bit bigger as he rounds the turn 4 banking and heads back towards the start and finish line, and we'll get a true assessment of the gap that he has in a moment. Here he comes, hits the stripe now. Let's see exactly what the gap is to Smythe behind, if he's actually managed to close in at all. And the gap is now, when it resets, it's down to 4 seconds. So Smythe is running a faster pace now that he's got himself clear of Hug. But right now, Marcus, I think that gap is a little bit too insurmountable for Smythe to get anywhere close before the final lap, you think, unless Tessier makes a mistake.
Yeah, that was half a second for that lap. We got 4 racing laps left, including this one. So unless Tessier does make a mistake, I think he's pretty solid. All Indy Smythe can hope here is that he can keep closing that gap and maybe worry Alain Tessier and worry him into a bit of an accident. We've seen how easy it is just to have a little innocuous accident here, but Tessier's a fairly cool customer. I really don't think that he's going to do anything stupid.
So the top 6 looking pretty static at the top 5 looking pretty static at the moment. Intriguing battle going on for 6th though between William Botha in the 302 and Benjamin Gregory in the 613. Benjamin, of course, recovering after he was in 2nd place, but then just dropped it on the exit of the horseshoe a couple of laps ago, which saw him drop down to near the latter end of the top 10. He's been chased by Matthew Dalton in the 54 with Robert Burton 9th and Craig Burleson rounding out the top 10. So intriguing stuff down the bottom end, but apart from that, everyone's starting to spread out as the race heads past the halfway point.
Yeah, Gregory will be keen to get back past William Botha. It's interesting that they were as close as you could be. As they broke the beam at the beginning of this 6th lap, they were registered exactly the same time. They were both 19.150 seconds behind the leader, and I think it's the first time I've ever seen that, 2 cars crossing the line with exactly the same gap.
Oh, and contact, I've just seen an instant, that was Craig Burleson and Robert Burton, collision up at the bus stop chicane. Burton has exited out of it. I think Burleson's going to try and go again, and more contact. Is that Zuzov, and I think possibly, is that William Pinar possibly? A couple of cars off into the tyre, so 2 separate incidents in the space of about 10 seconds up at the bus stop, and immediately wipes out 3 cars at least altogether. So these guys are getting desperate out there at the moment, because these are not incidents that should be happening, especially near the end of this race. But I think these guys possibly have had, of course, 2 9-lap races already, so maybe some of them getting restless down at the bottom of the top 10, possibly, Marcus?
Yeah, and again, just looking at that, that's Robert Burton hasn't done himself any favours there at all again. He's got the inside line against Craig Burleson going into the bus stop, but he's outbraked himself. He's gone too deep, and he's just driven into the side of Burleson there, and it's the second incident in 3 or 4 laps that he's been involved in, and unfortunately it's taken himself and Burleson out of the race by the looks of it.
Keeping tabs on Alain Tessier at the front, he's coming up to a bit of lap traffic in front of him, so he's now going to try and negotiate that without any problems. Alain Tessier, of course, looking for his second race win of the evening. Of course, he's had a pretty good record so far this evening anyway. Winning race 1, had that mistake where he was running up in 2nd place, but of course now found himself dropping back to 7th after the spin on the penultimate lap. And then, of course, starting 4th, quickly made his way to the front and hasn't looked back since. And while Ian D. Smythe is taking small pieces of time out of him, the gap was 3.7 seconds across the stripe last time by, does look a little bit visibly closer. Now the test is how Tessier deals with traffic and how he gets around them as quickly as possible. Gap is down to 3.4, so Smythe is charging, but of course he needs to be putting a lot quicker lap times than that to try and head him. Last lap time for Tessier was a 1:45.836. Comparing that to Ian D. Smythe, 1:45.468. So he's definitely taken the time out of him. But I'm pretty sure that Ian sat in that cockpit thinking, Marcus, he needs more laps. He wish he had more laps than 9 to get this done.
Yeah, he needs to be lapping at 1.7 seconds a lap quicker than Tessier with the amount of laps we've got left to pass him. That's not going to happen. I think, though, Michael Stephen in 4th is going to catch Stefan Hug. I've been just looking at the world through Stefan Hug's cockpit, and he's definitely got some damage in that car. The steering wheel isn't straight when that car's going in a straight line. He's having to put some steering angle in, and that's really going to be slowing him down on the oval, certainly. And Stephen is now, well, when they broke the beam, he was 2 seconds back, but I'll be surprised if he's that far away. Hug looks very, very slow on the oval, and Michael Stephen may just get him before the end of the race.
Well, the problems that Stephen's having, of course, is the fact that he does have a damaged front end, so that's going to be affecting his aero in clean air at the moment. So, and Michael Stephen isn't too far behind, of course, he's only about 2.5 seconds back, so unless he can really close that in this last lap and a bit that he has left, it looks like it's possibly going to be the decisions, places made for 4th position. Meanwhile, back behind Botha is in 5th, but he's going to be closed in also by Jose Almeida, by Edmund K. Friedman and Benjamin Gregory. So Botha's made the move. What about Gregory's to head down into the bus stop chicane? Gregory has got past. So Gregory's still chasing hard on Botha. They've both moved past Edmund K. Friedman, get themselves into 5th and 6th positions respectively. Also, Ellis Stevens up in 9th, but he's also been closed in by Matteo Ciccoldi. So that's 8th, sorry, is where Ellis Stevens is, but Ciccoldi 9th. Cyril Thomas rounding out the top 10 in the 888 machine. Meanwhile, Alain Tessier is already on the final lap, exiting the horseshoe, making his way through the lap traffic. Let's try and see exactly whereabouts he is. Now, a couple of cars, we've lost a couple of big players, of course, already. It was down the field. We saw Ashley Sutton go out in 30 seconds, but classified. Laura Bond went out as well, Jose Almeida, Tien Dames, Jerome Kaiser as well. Zuzov went out, of course, after the incident, as did Craig Burleson and Robert Burleson. So, a lot of top drivers have been out here, but also looking to see, I think that's Matt Malone just in front of Alain Tessier. Yes, it is. So, of course, he's going to put a lap at him in a second. But, again, pretty simple drive from Tessier in this race. Hasn't really been challenged by the leaders. Once he took the lead, hasn't looked back since, has he, Marcus?
No, it's been a very mature, very good drive. It's a bit of a shame from a spectator's point of view, too many drivers doing too many silly things, which really blew this race wide open, and it's meant that they've been kind of running with reasonable gaps in that top 5. So a bit of a shame from our point of view, but you can't fault Tessier. He's done a fantastic job tonight, really has.
So as he heads now back towards the turns 3 and 4 banking again, he snatched the win in race 1, was unlucky in race 2, but finally he gets a dominant victory for race 3. Alain Tessier brings it towards the stripe for the final time. He will round out race 3 in the final race of tonight's events at Daytona. He takes the victory in round 9 of season 2 of the BSR Carrera Cup with an awesome victory with Andy Smythe across the line. What was the deficit? 6.8 seconds. So in that last couple of laps, Smythe either made a mistake or was held up by traffic. Stefan Hug takes 3rd and a final spot on the podium. That strengthens his position in the championship. And Michael Stevens took the gap down to only, it was still 2.5 seconds. Bota was 5th, and Gregory will just hold on to 6th across the line from Edmund K. Freeman, despite the fact that Freeman had a draft. 8th is Ellis Stevens. No, he's not. Ciccoli took it on the final lap. Ciccoli takes 8th on the final lap from Stevens. Awesome pass for him. Great job to get himself in front and another couple of points and another step in the points. And Cyril Thomas rounding out the top 10. Matthew Tolton 11th, Robert Plumley in 12th, Daniel Hunt in 13th spot, and Richard Wild, I think possibly, is he going to hold on? Yes, Hunt holds on ahead of Wild for 13th spot. Then we've got Willem Pienaar. Eckhart von Glan is also going to finish very soon as he comes towards the line. Rest of the top 20 looks like this. Nick McCarron in 17th spot, Gary Tall 18th. Matt Malone has already finished at a lap down in 19th, and so has Robert Teams in 20th in the 3:03. So Marcus, let's just wrap up obviously what happened in race 3 and then talk about the race weekend as a whole. Race 3, it was all about Alain Tessier. Fantastic push through the field, get going to the lead, and from there, absolutely dominant, and winning it by almost 7 seconds, I think really vindicates that fact.
Yeah, he did a great job there. I was just looking at what happened to Ian D. Smythe, and Smythe picked up a cut corner penalty coming out the bus stop in that last lap, which cost him that additional time. But a fantastic effort by pretty much all the quick guys tonight, to be honest with you. I don't think you could really single anybody out as being substantially better than the other. Tessier was great, very, very fast. Obviously Ian D. Smythe is lightning in these things, and he'll be very, very happy that he managed to get the car across the finish line in reasonable shape in all the races. It's something he hasn't managed to do so far. Dalton will be pleased with his 5th place in race 2. He was running very well in race 3, but unfortunately got caught up in an incident. So yeah, lots of great drivers who did a great job tonight. The big loser tonight, unfortunately, was poor old Ashley Sutton, who just got battered from really minute 1. Made a couple of mistakes on his own, but having to start races 2 and 3 from so far down the grid, he was very unlucky to be caught up in so many incidents. But yeah, great job by everyone, and Tessier deservedly takes the 2 wins.
And just quickly, just to round off, of course, I'm pretty sure you've already mentioned him at some point, but who would you class as the driver of the evening for you, Marcus? Who gets your vote on this one?
To be honest with you, I'm a little bit biased here. Probably Benjamin Gregory. I know he hasn't been very near the top all night, but he's driving that thing without using a steering wheel. He's without a wheel at the moment, so to bring that car home in 6th place in that last race using a game controller is a fantastic effort. So I think I'll give it to him for tonight, just because we all know how hard that is to do.
Excellent stuff. I don't think I could disagree with that. I think obviously trying to race on iRacing just with a wheel for some people is rather difficult, of course, because it is, of course, a very challenging sim. But to do it with a pad and to finish up there in the top 10, impressive stuff from Benjamin. So I think on that basis, I think he gets my driver of the evening as well. So congratulations to Benjamin. 6th place, should be proud of that, but he was at 1.2, and that has to be respected no matter how much and which way you look at it. So that is the race weekend done, of course, at Daytona. And of course, thank you very much for watching on that one. Next time you see us as we head forwards into the next few rounds, if I bring the results up as the calendar on my screen, to see exactly where we're going to be heading. And the next one, we're going to be heading across from Daytona to Silverstone, the National Circuit at Silverstone, on April the 10th for races at 10, 11 and 12. Of course, the usual times for all the races, 10 to 9 for race number 1. Race number 2 will be at 9:30, and race number 3 at 10:10. All of that UK time, and live here on the YouTube channel for BSR TV. If you missed any of the races so far, either for tonight or in this season so far, be sure to check out the channel and give it a subscribe. We also do have a presence on social media. Give us a like on Facebook and a share on Twitter, a follow on Twitter. And if you want to see more racing action, be sure to stick around tomorrow night, because we have the next few rounds of the iRacing BTCC Championship. So stick around for that. Of course, tomorrow night, again, same times as the 3 races we had tonight. Of course, again, because the Kia Optimas get to strut their stuff once again here at Daytona. But that wraps up the coverage from the BSR Carrera Cup Season 2, rounds 7, 8 and 9. I've been Scott Woodwis. For myself, Marcus Naris and Steve Richardson on cameras, and everyone at BSR TV, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week for the next few rounds of the season at Silverstone. Bye for now.